Welcome to a Sunday stream. Good morning, everyone. Open speed test, you got this. Morning, all. Thanks, Cody. Matt, good morning again. All kinds of fun people here this morning. I should probably schedule these further out so people have a time to, I don't know it's happening, I guess. I do my best. I post it in here on YouTube, of course, but I also post it on Twitter. I post it on Mastodon. I'm not sure where else I should post it. It does go into my forums as well, listed as a live stream. So I do as much as I can to get the word out for people, because people ask how to subscribe or get notices. In YouTube, well, YouTube doesn't always just make that easy, because why would you want people to know? They want you to see a variety of content or something. I don't know. Their algorithm doesn't necessarily make sense to me all the time. I don't even know that it makes sense to them. But here we are, and I'm glad all of you are here, all 50 of you. So we're going to start with some questions around security cameras. And I can clearly never cover enough of this topic. And then there's always, and I don't get too deep into the people who have clear misunderstandings of technology. Sometimes I will read some of their posts because they make me laugh. This particular person here, whoops, I didn't put my keyboard on the right side. Well, now I bumped the keyboard, and here we are. Let's go ahead and throw this in here. Yeah, stumbling around dark and looking for coffee. Yeah. Greetings from the Bronx, Uruguay, New York, all kinds of places. Still booting up. It's yes, it's still early, so we're still getting booted up. I wake up at 5 a.m. So this is like my lunchtime-ish, I guess you could say. I don't know how that works. I just like waking up early. Well, I don't know if I like it. I just don't know how not to do it. I've always woke up early. But I'm going to pull up some of these comments, accidentally refresh the page, and I'll share the screen here in a second. Where did that person go? Oh, there we go. Let's start with the craziest comment first, because why not kick it off there? There's just a lot of people that have a hard time understanding how security works. Let's go ahead and zoom in to make this a little bit more readable. Do we got to scroll down further again? Yes. And hopefully you guys can read that. Can I go in a little further without? Hold on. Did that get rid of the comments? We scroll like this. Yes, there we go. Now we can pull them across the screen. What I do is I zoom it in until it goes to like the mobile version. We'll go to the bottom where the crazy comment is first. Here we go. And like I said, I don't obsess with the YouTube comments too much. But yes, there's just sometimes people really, I don't know, they miss the mark. And I don't want some person's comment to ever lead people down the wrong path of misunderstanding security like this person has. But the question is, why bother with Chinese cameras at all? The only way we would even remotely trust them is to air gap them. At that point, there's no point. Listen, I barely trust the couple camera companies that are U.S. camera companies. Cameras are 100% two-way street for security, non-security, and comes down the price. That's a fair assessment right there. Their comment starts out fair. It is a price factor. People ask about, what about insert name of, I think someone actually commented on my video today about Bosch cameras, Axis cameras. When you compare the price of those cameras, you'll see that they're not like a little bit more. You're not paying 20% more. They are a substantial step up in price. And that's what drives a lot of these is the price consideration. Now, this person wanders off into Chinese law or something like that. I don't care about that comment. It's not relevant. This is where they have a complete misunderstanding. The mere fact that you believe any networking protects you is just humorous. That just shows when someone says something like that, it lets me know they just don't understand how networking works. And in the way I see it, and it's not me just poking at the person, but it is the comment that when I see someone say something that's kind of outlandish, it's usually because they come from such a misunderstanding of how the technology works. It's very mysterious to them. So the way they come up with their comments is they're projecting their mystery onto you, going, look, this is all just magic packets. And you think that rules will stop those magic packets from landing somewhere. Yes, I do, because I understand how the packets work. I understand how the network engineering works. And this is where a lot of people get kind of tripped up on things, where I know this is very complicated. And if you don't understand it, does not mean someone else doesn't have an understanding of it. People a lot of times blanket their statements like that. And I've always tried to encourage, I do this myself. Like, if I don't understand something, I just stop and say, I don't get it. I don't understand how that works. And I think that's a way better answer. And a lot of people just kind of dive into this. It's kind of weird, the comments you get on YouTube about that. There's another person up here that talks about and this is another thing that's happened, and there's the tiniest bit of truth in it. And where was it? Right here. Let's see. This is false security of any logical barrier by just using a different subnet as easy as subvert if it's truly a rogue device. Simply sniff the network to find what other subnets are around, and even on a switch network, and then the IP alias and address other subnets, and even has no internet. Now this rogue system can talk to your production systems and find a vulnerability, etc. That's pretty absurd as well. Now, I will admit, one of the cheap, was it a TrendNet? Oh, let me look, because I did a review of one of these devices, and that was one of the problems with them. I think it was a TrendNet. Let me look up the part. It was one of the cheap switches, and maybe that's what I have to search. That was a fee. Inexpensive budget TP. It was a TP link. And this is one of those things when people ask me about TP links. This is one of the problems with them. There was a TP link switch that you could simply change the IP address and get to the interface for it. I mean, I don't really feel or see anything in TP Link's history that makes me think they're a company that cares about security first. They care about security enough to get you to buy their product, but no more. And that problem with that TP Link switch, where I could literally just switch the IP address and always get to the management interface. Yeah, if you're using really low quality hardware, that's probably absolutely a problem. If you're using something like I do, or there's more than just UniFi, of course, I'm completely aware, Cisco as well. If you set up proper VLANs on a UniFi device, a Cisco, or insert name of many other properly built equipment, you will have clear security for those. You can't just automatically VLAN hop by swapping IP addresses. Not to mention, I don't think these cameras are randomly swapping IP addresses to try to scan other subnets. So it's one of those things that just people start, not understanding how some of the technology works, or they make assumptions, or maybe they watch too many, well, we'll just call them glamorized TV shows or movies where they hack everything and in some absurd way. So I think that's where people get off topic on the security things quite a bit. I only reply a couple times to those people. At some point, I'm not here to, interfere with them about it. I think we'd all run high-end American-made cameras if we could afford it. Yeah, that's really what it comes down to. And not necessarily, it's not, and I was trying to define this a little bit better. It's not where the cameras are made. It's all about where the firmware is made. The reality is the iPhone is built in China, but the firmware on the iPhone is what drives it. It really comes down to who wrote the firmware for it. Because even the other cameras that may have be by other manufacturers, I'm willing to bet, are probably not built physically top to bottom with all the chips and everything here in the US. Generally, it's just not the case. But the firmware being here is where all the difference is. The firmware is really what it comes down to, not as much the hardware. So it's whether or not the firmware was built by someone you trust. And there's a couple of problems with the firmware that comes on these cameras from China. And it kind of goes back to, and I wish I remember the podcast I was listening to, but they were talking about one of the challenges in China that they face right now is a really interesting one. And you can think about this if you've worked in technology and you've worked, especially in the US, but I imagine it's like this at a lot of places in Europe. There's a lot of senior engineers, or let's expand this out. You work in chemistry. There's usually a senior chemist. So even though you may have a chemistry degree, you're working in that field, there's usually someone with senior knowledge already working in the field. China's very different because they're more of a startup and they don't have as many senior engineers working in there. And it's creates some challenges. It's not like this all the time there, but it does create challenges in the way they may build things. Also, because they're trying to build things as cheap as they can, frequently to undercut the market to get sales. The quality of the code is not the primary focus. When you're selling something, not cheaper, but like 1/8 the price, where do you think the sacrifices are made? And because of that market competition, we sell these to be competitive. Because if I told someone, and someone mentioned Bosch cameras, I looked them up. I mean, a similar to the Amcrest camera, Bosch camera, I think was $700. $700 per camera. The Amcrest cameras bought in bulk are $89. So $89 versus $700. And when we're putting in 20 cameras, which bid do you think someone's going to go for? People ask for I've had plenty of people ask, I want a made in America. I want an access camera. No problem. Here's the 2 quotes. I don't have a problem doing it. I just, as long as you'll approve it, I don't care what cameras I install. It comes down to budget. If your budget allows for it, awesome. But anytime we've given a quote out, there's a pause and go, that's not a little bit more. That's not like a 20% price increase. And I'm like, exactly. So it's a huge difference on that. So yeah, 100% correct. Manufacturer location versus software location. Yes. Would you still use UniFi? I wouldn't have used UniFi from the beginning. So UniFi is an interesting subject because they're doing all this they're doing all this cloud stuff that they weren't clear about. Now, they weren't clear about it up front. The reality is, I actually think I went and watched the video done by the Hookup, and I thought it was a good video. If you watch the Hookup and their take on the UniFi cameras, well, I think it's a fair assessment. It comes down to what your risk is. Do you want these features? Do you want them in the cloud? Do you want a cheap camera? Now, the fact that they said no cloud is a huge problem. That's where they have a dishonesty problem. And it's not that I tell everyone you should never use the cloud, because reality is, I just remind people, like, the Ring doorbell is a really popular system. Do you trust Ring? That's as long as you're aware. I always preach awareness. I like to give people data. I'm not the decision maker. I'm just the person trying to educate you, because I don't sell the Ring camera. I don't sell the UniFi camera. I think you should always be aware. And I think it's wrong that UniFi obscured how they did things. But the reality is, you should always just be an informed consumer. That's my stance on all of this. Do I have a UniFi camera? No. Do I have a Ring camera? No. Do I have some other cloud-enabled camera? No, no, no. I don't want one. So if you want my opinion of what would Tom buy, none of those things. There's a reason I'm using this analogy, and I'm storing all of my surveillance footage locally. So I have definite opinions for what I should buy, but in the big picture, I offer, what should you buy? And we have clients with Ring doorbells that we helped put in. Why? It was the best solution for what they wanted, the budget, and they are aware that at this public place that they have the Ring doorbell, it's an easy way for them to be able to see the people coming to the back door of their business. They're aware that, the footage goes to the cloud or whatever, but they're perfectly fine with it. And it's rather convenient for them. So that there is a informed consumer who made a decision, and we put a Ring in on the back of their building. So that's kind of my thoughts on a lot of that. Like I said, I'm not trying to, I always try to just be a data point, not a decision point. Depends also on what camera is viewing. Chinese spies are interested in what happens on someone are interested in what happens in someone's backyard. It is okay. Camera in your office is a bit different. Yeah, it comes down to what they're interested in, what they're going to do with the data. I don't know. It usually, and China's been pretty forward about this in the big picture. China wants intellectual property. They are probably one of the absolute consistently large consumers of any of our intellectual property they can get their hands on, so they can make it. Matter of fact, there's a lot of them that look at Kickstarter campaigns. I remember someone pointing this out, and I thought it was interesting, of manufacturing things, making them look like Kickstarter campaigns so they can get them to market faster. I mean, it's just a money thing. It's not a nefarious spying without reason for mystery and conspiracy to some group of people. It's like, no, we want to see how that works so we can make it and then we can sell it to you. It's just business. A huge amount of it is that. So Willie says Bosch is OEM by several overseas manufacturers. Okay. Flip side of seeing engineers is that they tend to be rigid in their ideas. Yeah, there are certainly the depictions of the gray-haired senior engineer who is absolutely filled with extremely strong opinions on things and any technology. And this is actually a funny anecdote here. My friend worked for Ford Engineering for a while, and we talked about some of the people, how you're trying to engineer vehicles, you're trying to be forward thinking your design for the consumer market, and who would buy these vehicles. You do have some people that stop and like they stop progressing in their knowledge and things like that. But the anecdote about the Ford engineers was my friend that worked there said he said when they quit buying new suits, when their suits were from 20 years ago, they also was a sign that they were no longer forward thinking. And I thought that was kind of a funny little anecdote. Not that I think we should, use that as a absolute gauge of once they, stop progressing their clothes, that's always going to be analogous with they've stopped progressing. But I thought it was kind of a funny anecdote there when they quit buying new suits, is sometimes when they realize the engineers might also be full of old ideas. But yeah, we know there's definitely some old ideas out there held on to by uh, the the gray-haired folks that just kind of lock you in. And we're still, I met one of them that was really insistent we should still be using Internet Explorer. They were really upset about, Windows 95 being discontinued. And I'm like, you still work in tech? That's fascinating. Oh, okay, cool. That there's someone making chips here. Home Assistant set up IoT. Yes, I am definitely a Home Assistant fan. I'm the same thing. Yeah, if you kind of get where Tom's going, I like to keep things local, such as my Home Assistant here. So absolutely. So would you push camera backups to C2? I believe that's what they have now. It depends. That comes down to use cases as well. There's actually some advantages to using the C2. The encryption that they offer. Now, if you're encrypting it, yeah, I don't see a big deal with it. But sometimes you don't want it encrypted because you want to be able to share it. So maybe that's a reason. And maybe that use case works because sharing your parking lot footage with a few other people via this C2 system, maybe that's something you want to do. Now, Synology does support backups that encrypt prior to leaving. So I think that's fine as long as you're aware. Once again, preaching awareness here. And a lot of times, for compliance, we have to encrypt before it leaves. So if you are doing those things, you should be perfectly fine. And it's, you don't have to trust the cloud place you're storing it if you're encrypting it before it leaves. Suddenly that doesn't matter as much. Need to understand VLAN's rules for your home network. Yes. How much snow do we have? No snow at all. We have, let me find it here. Oops, I got to sign in. I'm not signed into my own Synology. It's a shame. Let me sign in real quick here so we can. Clicky click. There we go. And there we go. No snow. Actually, we have some sun today. So there's my backyard. We had wind last night, so the buckets got blown around, but there's my front yard with no snow in it. Don't blame me on the senior system, man. Is Kemp better than pfSense HA proxy? I don't know why I would use Kemp over HA proxy. I have no idea. I can't find a use case. HA proxy is open source, extremely popular. Why would I use Kemp? I can't find some advantage it has other than you can pay for licenses for it. I guess if that's what you want to do, but I don't really understand why you'd want to use it. I mean, maybe someone's out there promoting it because they were paid to promote it. That's definitely a possibility, but I'm not running around promoting it. So sometimes people ask, I don't know why people are, why ask, like I haven't found the use case, and we run into HA proxy in the wild, but I've never run into a Kemp load balancer in the wild. I'm saying there's no one using it. Just none of the clients that have contacted us are using it. Senior t-shirt and jeans. Yeah. Do you see much IPv6 in the wild? Not really. It exists, but no. We actually had to disable it for a client because it broke something. It was screwing up something on their network, and we disabled it and solved their problems. So when we usually don't have to mess with it, but it turned, I can't remember what the problem was because one of my staff consulted on it, but turning off IPv6 magic fixed the problem. November has passed and still no PF cents. Yeah, it takes time. Yeah, if you haven't stolen C2, could save you or backups. This is true. UniFi would, yeah. I wish UniFi would come out with some backups or protect. I wish UniFi would just let us back up in general, like some type of local extra copy of the data in there. But I'm not going to hold my breath on that. Yeah, Sun came out for the first time in a week. When I finish my home lab, CCTV will be getting up IP cams. Do you have any recommendations as I will be adding Home Assistant also with them for VPN access? So, I really like the Home Assistant combined with my Synology system. Because by the way, these, like my porch cam here and this, where I can see my driveway. If you notice, this is the Synology that I'm using for this. So I'm a big fan of the Synology. I have videos on it and I have links to all the cameras. I use the Amcrest cameras on my Synology. And yesterday I made a video about, really a little bit more detail about how I lock down the cameras. So I've not drove my car in 2 weeks. I just shoveled 1.5 feet of snow. Wow. That's a lot. I plan to build a PFSense router. I can't buy old PCs, so I thought I could invest in a new PC. What processor would you get? Currently deals. I mean, I can't buy old PCs. I mean, the reality is it takes so little, it'd be kind of wasteful to build a new PC, but find out what's on sale because it takes so little to run a PFSense. Even with gig routing, it's not something that takes a lot. So create passphrases or over 12 characters. Is there some hacky scripts available to protect? From my understanding, as they break on upgrade. Oh yeah. This is the thing. A lot of people modify their UniFi Dream machines to make them do what they want, or their protect systems. But the break on upgrade, this is why we never use them in a commercial support environment, because those type of things break on upgrade. Open source CCTV software cameras and VR brands like Tahua, Hikvision. I don't know of any good one out there. I mean, what is that one? There's the one that exists, but every time I've looked at it, it was just garbage. It's been around for a long time. I can't remember the name of it. There's a couple, if you type in open source NVR, let me find the name of it. Let's see, is this new? ZoneMinder, that's one of them. So let's 6 open source MVR solutions. Shinobi, ZoneMinder, Moonfire. I haven't looked at these in a while. My problem is every time I've tested them, they were just not great. If someone knows one that's good, and it's funny because like this one here, MotionEye OS. Let's go over to the GitHub real quick. If I'm not mistaken, oh, someone actually finally picked this up. Awesome. Literally very new. So MotionEye project GitHub organization with a new developer team. Please check out the dev branch for current development. I'm happy to see that someone's doing this. This is one of them I like, but it stopped. So I'm actually excited to take a look at this, but I've never seen any of them that made me go, this is good. They usually said, they're not so good. But MotionEye was a cool one. I actually did a video on MotionEye. I've covered it before, but none of them I've seen have even close to the features Synology has. They're often a lot harder to configure, but it depends on how much time you have. It's probably a good learning experience doing it. So I would definitely say that. It's setting it up and building it with Raspberry Pis and things like that. So, definitely I think the learning opportunities there if you need a project, and I just don't really have time to dig into them all because every time like I said, every time I looked, with the exception of Motion Eyes, the only one I said, "Hey, this works well." I'm gonna update one of my Motion Eye boxes. I actually have a few Raspberry Pi cameras I bought because I liked playing with the Motion Eye system for doing internal surveillance stuff. So I'm excited to learn that, hey, that's actually up and running again. Budget managed switch you'd recommend? I mean, it kind of depends. MikroTik makes that a good switch. Like I don't think MikroTik's bad, but you have a bigger learning curve with it. The UniFi ones are probably your highest quality, budget friendly ones out there. That's why they're so popular. It's not just because I'm a UniFi fanboy. It's when I look at some of the alternatives, I'm like, these just kind of fit the bill. They're inexpensive, they're easy to use, and that combination makes it relatively good choice. MikroTik, less easy to use, definitely very budget friendly though. So MikroTiks aren't bad as long as you're willing to take the time to learn them. ZoneMinder was one I was definitely thinking of earlier. The problem I have with Blue Iris is that it runs on Windows. And anyone here will look up is Blue Iris. It's a popular system. A lot of people like it. I would never run it commercially. It seems to be very customizable. I've watched a couple of people talk about it and do some videos, but it definitely, let's see, i7, NVIDIA, yeah, Microsoft Windows 7 newer equivalent OS. So it does require Windows, and that's one of the things I never liked about it. Yeah, Motion Eye is cool, but needs Raspberry Pi or similar SBCs. But I mean, yeah, the tricky part is building an enclosure to use them outside. Not going to be easy with Motion Eye, but building little projects, like if you follow my channel for a while, I used to have on my old house, my sump pump camera was built with Motion Eye. You can set all kinds of things to trigger events and watch different things. And for setting up internal home cameras, I think they're great because there is no cloud. I mean, you could send the data to the cloud, but Motion Eye is an open source project, so you can understand the code that goes into it, attach it to a small Raspberry Pi or a Raspberry Pi. It works with some of the are the Raspberry Pi Zeros. It works with some of the smaller Raspberry Pis as well, and it'll work fine even with the Raspberry Pi 3. So you don't have to have a new Raspberry Pi 4 to run it. Plug in a camera, and I think it's a great project for learning. Can I put pfSense behind my ISP router? I really want to get my feet wet, but can't jeopardize users. Yeah, of course you can. You can double NAT pfSense in a lab environment. Works perfectly fine. The pfSense lab environments, one thing you need to do is go in and check. I'll show you real quick. I think I can do this. Let's see. I would think it's going to be under interfaces. Yeah, right here. What you have to do, let me zoom it in. All right, now I can share the screen. Share this tab instead. There's an option to block private networks. Just make sure this isn't checked. You want to uncheck those boxes for your lab stuff. That will allow it to do that. If not, you'll run into a different problem. But you can double NAT like that and stick it behind your ISP router. I miss my Linux box so much. Open source is much easier for the most part once it's configured. Yes. Different IP of the subnet. Yep. On the other scale, have you done anything with CBS? Done anything with what is a CBS 350? I'm going to go with because I have to Google what CBS 350 is. Answer is, oh, that's a Cisco Business. You just didn't feel like typing Cisco Business. I've tested it. I need to finish the review of it. I like the switch. That's probably a decent switch too. That's in the budget friendly range. So, did you miss anything? Nothing you can't watch. I don't think I shared any earth shattering things on there, Hans. I've seen UniFi more expensive than Cisco and UK prices. Yeah, now finding hardware is a whole different one, but let me pull up that Cisco, these Cisco business switches. Let me find, is there, I guess it depends. Let me share this tab. So I have a couple of these and I've been testing them. So I've not tested that Cisco business dashboard stuff. Depending on how inspired I feel today, maybe I'll play with that today. I have a lot to do. But I can have it before Christmas. Yay. Or I can go in my office and my storage room and grab one. But yeah, the Cisco business ones weren't bad. They have a VLAN wizard in the web UI. So I thought that was cool. Do I recommend Zyxel managed switches? I do not like Zyxel at all. They've had backdoors in their products. Makes me kind of not like them. UniFi needs a controller for every device. UniFi needs a controller for many devices. Devices like firewalls use ARP spoofing to redirect traffic. Monitoring, why does this not work? I mainly do a better cap. And apparently some routers block this. Yeah, some things will block ARP spoofing. Cisco business switches. Do you have any info about restocking? No. And I wouldn't recommend the USGs anyways. What do you generally need when you set up CCTV system for your clients other than Synology, a cheaper one? No, we don't go any cheaper than Synology. Synology is the cheapest ones we do. We actually do more expensive ones. I don't talk about as much because I don't think there's any interest on them on YouTube. We've done some large ExactVision installs. But when people see the licensing, it's probably not a YouTube audience thing to talk about ExactVision. There's another company too. There's a few other high-end companies that we've worked with. Sometimes there's vendor. The job we're doing is just the network integrator and network install and physical part. Someone else sometimes has chose the NVR, and that's fine. We don't have a problem with that. But there's not much interest, I think, on YouTube on those ones. They're just really expensive. So someone made a meme that I seen over on Reddit talking about YouTubers that, hey, we're just going to review this a $15,000 router and talk about it as if you could configure it yourself. And it's kind of how I feel if I were to do a video on a what do you call it? Some stupidly expensive licensed NVR system. I have a Huawei GPON, checked new one. I've not done anything with GPON, so I have no insight into those. I'm hoping to order one accidentally. One Aruba on eBay. Arubas work. Thoughts following your upcoming review. What do you think of the Cisco dashboard? I think it kept crashing. So I don't know what was wrong with it. And I kind of got sidetracked because their engineers couldn't tell me either. So I got to play with the installer again. I thought it was way harder to set up than it should have been because it just didn't work. And I was using their virtual machine version of it. So I got to try and clean Ubuntu install of it. And then I'll tell you what I think. If it didn't crash, I would have had a different opinion, but it crashed. So I couldn't really play with it. 30 minutes passed. Nice. That's the mod I'm planning on ordering. Cool. Have you taken wisdom teeth out? Just didn't you're miserable. Yes, I feel bad for you. I have empathy for people who have had their wisdom teeth pulled out because mine are as well. No earth-shattering things. Shuck to 28 terabyte Amazon. Hey, nice. Any tips for UniFi iOS app working the controller behind HA proxy? I never use it on my phone, so I don't know. Maybe I don't understand the use case. I just don't use the UniFi system on my phone at all. So why you wouldn't recommend a USG? People are always disappointed in the VPNs on the UniFi routing, so I usually don't recommend USGs because people go, cool, I want VPN. Oh, it doesn't work right. The number of people that contact us for consulting that we actually turn them down because we can't do what they want them to do. They're like, hey, I want to set up a multi-user open VPN or a WireGuard or, common VPN settings. And we tell them that they can't do it on their USG, their Unified Dream Machine Pro. But they can finally, if you have a UDM Pro SE, and I think Cody from Mac Telecom Networks has a recent video done this, you can finally use WireGuard. QNAP is terrible, terrible, terrible on security. So definitely Synology over QNAP. For home lab tinkering, is there any issue using managed Netgear switches? No, if you understand how they work provided you configure them properly. We've had a handful of consulting where people seem to misconfigure Netgear switches a lot. I don't know why. I mean, they didn't. There's nothing about them that made them any more difficult than some of the other ones like MikroTik. But I think just because people misconfigure VLANs a lot. Here's my $1 million server. Can't we play Minecraft on it? Yes, Synology over QNAP all day, every day. OVA on ESXi build. I think you're asking about the Cisco business dashboard. I was OVA on VirtualBox, which is something they recommended, and it didn't work. How do you guys practice soft skills? Totally different type of question. I don't know. I talk to people online. I have no idea. The soft skills are not something I feel like I could really qualify to train on, but my studying being social is probably just more me reading books on psychology to try to understand how to talk to my fellow humans. But I don't have any type of concise answer for that would be very helpful. But like anything, you get better at practice. So going to social events and trying to socialize. There's actually a YouTube channel called Answer in Progress, where they talk about the benefits of making small talk. I think it's if you type in like Answer in Progress small talk, I'll probably type that in for you. Answer in. Let's see. Do they have that? Yes. You can find this video by Answer in Progress. They actually talk about this, some of the psychology of doing small talk. And I don't know. I found it interesting. I'm not someone who knows how to do small talk very well still, so I still think about it. Updated opinion on Omada. I still wouldn't buy it. I don't know. I just don't trust them when it comes to security. So I think they're probably fine for home users that want to play around with it. I wouldn't trust a business install to it. How many servers have you deployed today? I have no idea. I've been in tech since 1995. Thousands and thousands? I don't know. I've never tried to count. I've tested Cisco DB for a bit. At the end of the day, it ended up being something that needs a lot of work to be useful. I do love the small business line. I like the price point that the Cisco switches were at, but the licensing on it too is going to make people angry when I get to doing the review. People are like, how much is the licensing? Why is it so much? And I'm like, because it's Cisco. What do you expect? Do you expect them to give you something? I mean, just because you bought their hardware, which is generally at a really high price and a great margin for them, doesn't mean they should give you the software for free, and doesn't mean you should ever have that software as a one-time fee. You should perpetually pay for it, because that's the Cisco way. Yeah, UDM SE has WireGuard. Any experience using Squid on PFSense to route traffic via VPN interface? Nope, I don't use Squid at all. It's a headache. If only could have QNAP hardware, Synology hardware. Yeah. I get what you're saying. Tom has PFSense covered. We deploy Sophos. Yeah, some people do like the Sophos one. I don't use it, but if you like it, go for it. Is there an easy way to make and blow away a VM on XCP&G like it was DigitalOcean? Yes. Kind of. You just have to build templates. QNAP has too many security issues. Yeah. If you want to use a Sophos, I don't know any reason not to use a Sophos. I just don't have an interest in it. But people do. So if it works for you, run with it. Are you aware of any significant difference between running Tailscale and PFSense or a device within your network? Well, yes, no. When it comes to Tailscale, the licenses are per device. PFSense is a device. So if you're using it in PFSense and you have many devices, or you have devices that can't run Tailscale, it may be better to run it on PFSense, because you can't necessarily load Tailscale on everything. And for those devices you can load it on your PFSense and it can route there. So that's the only real difference between them. And obviously, if a device is connected through PFSense, the only way you'll ever connect to that device is if that devices connected to the network that pfSense is. And I'm saying that for an example, a laptop that may come in and out of the network, if it's loaded with Tailscale, well, it doesn't have a reliance on pfSense. I never had good luck with anything VirtualBox. I use VirtualBox all the time. I think it works wonderful. I think the Cisco business dashboard had lots of Java problems. Is there an Xmonology project repackage Synology software so you can DIY Synology like thing? Yeah, there is, but I don't think some things work on it, like their surveillance station. So QNAT problems don't make public facing problems solved. Well, you still have to deal with low quality software. You just have to have less risk with that low quality software because you're keeping it inside. Let's see. I go with animals for small talk. Oh, dogs are way easier to talk to. I like dogs sometimes better than people. There's no doubt on that. For a Blue Iris, should it be on the camera or VLAN or main trusted network? I would put the NVR. I don't know enough about it. It's running Windows. I mean, put your Windows on untrusted network, which creates, you don't just get Blue Iris, you get whatever problems come with Windows. Do you recall any problems using NextDNS? Comment server. Never used NextDNS. I prefer Quad 9. I haven't had a use case that said, hey, I should be using NextDNS over Quad 9. People seem to ask about it. What web filter are you using? Commercially, we use Zoros. Personally, I use none. Well, I take that back. I'm using uBlock Origin, if that counts as web filtering to you. Cisco Small Business links this with a different brand name. Yeah. 25 license free. That's correct. They do offer, last time I read, the 25 licenses are the up to 25. And I forget what the license fees are for the Cisco Small Business Dashboard. Where the fees are, but there's a fee after the 20. Once you get to 26 devices, there you go. Here's your license fees. Why use OpenSense over pfSense? I prefer pfSense. Why does LTT? LTT talked about it in a video because it had a driver they were looking for. Older Cisco SMB rebrand Linksys in that case in many years. Yeah. On the subject of open source, have you done anything with IDP smart card authentication? No. Do you have a CCNA cert? Do you recommend those in IT, not in a networking role? I really recommend, if you don't know what to do, like certifications can help because you're not sure what path to choose or which certs to get, but you're not sure how to get to a learning goal. Certs can be really good for that. Also, think about the jobs you want and do they require certifications? I've been unemployed for almost 20 years. So, because I've worked for myself. So no one asked me if I have, people ask me here. The only places I get asked if I have certifications is pretty much YouTube. Outside of it in my business world, no one asks me if I have, well, rarely when people are asking getting in the industry, but I don't have any certs myself. I just never bothered with them, but I also have a clear defined goal frequently of what I want to get done. And so I use that to read all the things I need to do and learn all the things I need to learn to get to the point where I need to be. So I've never bothered with certs, but that is not the right answer for you. The right answer for you is going to be, do you need certifications to get to the job you want? Or if you're not, well enough into your tech career to understand what you don't know, sometimes going for that certification will bring all that knowledge in a concise way to get you to that goal. Can you elaborate more on camera VLAN DNS firewall? The Synology NVR needs DNS in order to do its lookup so it can do things like updates. So I have the Synology allowed only to get DNS lookups, but not the cameras. Can a USG behind the pfSense so that the USG will show network stats and UniFi mapping? It's not useful. Could it be done? Yeah, but I wouldn't consider it very useful. Running pfSense in the VM under Proxmox, struggling to make VLANs communicate with each other, even with full open roles. Any tips on that? A lot of times when you virtualize pfSense, it doesn't work well with VLANs anymore because you can't push VLANs across those virtual network adapters. I don't use Proxmox. I know that is true, though, in XCP-NG. So Will I trade my wife for a dog? Probably not. Currently OpenVPN on pfSense. Would recommend updating WireGuard Tailscale to improve speed. It depends if you need the speed. That's really what it comes down to. Do you need that speed? I mean, that's the better answer. I want to say thanks for the YouTube channel forums. Help me set up my VPNs and better security. Awesome. Glad to hear that. Windows definitely untrusted. $30 per drive a year over here. Lawrence system converted me using Quad 9 recently. I'm very happy with the switch. Quad 9 solid. $30 ish per Cisco device a year in the UK, 25 free. Okay, it's not terrible. A well-designed infrastructure of one XCP-NG hypervisor, true NAScale, UniFi backbone work 14 subs qualify as a queue. Can you use it? I guess. I mean, I don't understand the question. A well-designed infrastructure, one pfSense, 4 XCP-NG hypervisors, 1 true NAScale, 5 UniFi switches, and a 2 10 gig backbone, 14 subnets. I mean, I don't see the question there, but will it work? Sure. I never understand what is OpenVPN or WireGuard, why it's different than conventional VPNs like Nord or Surfshark. WireGuard and OpenVPN are protocols. Nord and Surfshark are privacy VPN services. One's a transport layer, one's a service. Do you recommend buying a pfSense or build your own SFP box? For businesses, I do like purchasing the hardware. For home lab people, especially because it doesn't always fit their budgets, and home lab often lends itself to people who are getting started. So I don't feel bad when people go, hey, I want to buy some of these inexpensive boxes. They get the job done, and they fit your budget. I'd say use an old computer, but I think the problem with old computers, and many people, and maybe someone are following on this particular live stream, are in Europe, and I know power costs are higher in Europe. So old computers can kind of create that challenge for you. So they may not be the most effective, but there's some relatively inexpensive boxes you can build pfSense on right now. If I recall, when I had it works, a config switch, VLAN 495 or something like that, effectively creating a trunk port and hypervisor stack. Long time since I've done that. Yeah, there's some trickiness to doing it. I don't do it. We'll actually pull up. The networking. Here we go. So when I build my pfSenses in Zen server, you notice each one of these is like the .3 Studio 100 to Studio 200. If we go over to my pool of Zen, look at my networking, you'll see. I got to go to what? Let me just show all. There we go. We designed each of these to be their own VLAN. So these studio ones are their own VLAN, VLAN 100, VLAN 200. So by doing this, we're not dealing with VLANs inside of pfSense. We're doing them all inside of Zen server. So by doing them inside of Zen server, it saves me any of those problems that you may be running into inside of trying to create the VLANs against the interfaces. I let the hypervisor handle the VLANs, and to pfSense, these are all just logical ports. I'm in a question like that might be somewhat too much to ask for here. I have forums where people can ask more in-depth questions. You're just insane a live chat. I've seen many YouTubers falling behind you. Explain it so well and speed it up too. So I don't know how you manage. That's how. Oh, I love speed run questions. I like doing Q&A for some reason. It's really fun to me. It's like a game show where people just go throw questions at Tom and see which ones he's going to screw up on. Do you recommend buying a pfSense or build one Dell Optiplex? Build it, buy it. Personally, I consider you an expert on pfSense. Curious if you would use use BGP OSPF on pfSense. So needing to learn more about how to set up a configure. I might do a video on it someday. We don't do it that often, so there's not a ton of them. So I kind of mumble my way through those ones. When I do a video on something, it's usually because I've done it so many times. And this is kind of, alluding back to someone who said, "Hey, Tom, you're good at Q&A." Well, the thing is, you guys are asking questions about stuff that I do every day. So it makes it really easy for me to answer. And my videos are just stuff I do all the time and my team does all the time. So it's easy to answer. When there's things that we do and it's kind of a one-off because we're not setting it up every day, I usually have to really sit down and build a lab and practice at it. But I've been wanting to do like a BGP video for part of an explainer on there. The problem is when you dive into those complicated topics, it's a lot. And the downside of it being a lot is then I have to then put together all the context is going to be for that video. And it's just me going, I'll do that later when I get to it because I have these other things I want to do. So when I find some time, I'll probably sit down and do a video on it though. I'm probably going to have to hire someone for my YouTube channel soon next year because it kind of needs to happen. I need more people to help set up everything. My staff is so busy doing business things that they don't have time. So I've kind of had to, it's put a few things on hold, but I think that'll change once I find someone, and I'm preferably going to find someone local to do this because it's just easier to come to my lab and start building. That way I don't even have to build it. Someone can test it. Especially the Wi-Fi testing. I don't even know how to have a remote person do that unless I shipped everything to them to do all the testing and then brought it all back to do the review. And that just seems, I don't know, not out of the question, but a little bit harder. Power costs are horrific at the moment. Yeah, I've heard that. Top 5 pfSense feature requests. I don't have a top 5 for that. Yeah, I can't really, that doesn't ring a bell. Like usually I'm going to say for the businesses, people usually want some type of global dashboard. I always look at a global dashboard as a good and bad. Like it's a single point of attack, but it's also convenient to be able to log into everything. And I want to do a video on this at some point. It's our Project Tunnel Bear. And this is actually a reverse VPN that we have set up with a single IP address, and it has a lot of systems connected to it. So maybe one time I'll do a video on how we built our own dashboards with pfSense, and that might be an interesting video where all of the clients have reverse tunnels that go to here. I don't know. That'll topic for another day, but that is probably the one really frequent request. I don't have a top 5 though. PepLink routers. The PepLink seem to be really popular for failover. I've only used them for that. Do you run XOA in the same infrastructure? Do you run your XOA on the same infrastructure as you're managing? Yes. Power over here is a large consideration. People trying to sell Core 2's viable pfSense boxes run. Yeah, definitely power issues. Your take on UniFi access. Feels like a very immature basic product. People seem to like it, but I've talked to some people that have bugs with it. We haven't done any business installs because we wouldn't want to support it. Best solution for triggered PTZ to a closed contact detection over IP rather than hardware. I don't have a suggestion for you on that one. How many services you run at your home? Probably 100 plus. Not that many. Start with a BGP 101. Yeah. If the VM scenario is a little odd behavior, DHCP the VLAN apparently works fine. Devs are getting proper IPs. When the intercom, nothing. Suggestion we go bare metal. Yes. There's actually a lot of weirdness. If you don't set in pfSense, and this goes to XCP-ng specifically, you can actually get an address, but you'll find your traffic restricted in kilobits when you have like the hardware offloading not set properly or the settings not proper on your virtualized network interface. Those are problems people run into is connection problems, throughput problems. Those are both real problems you run into when you start virtualizing pfSense. You have to know how to set it up right. Hello from cold Switzerland. How's the weather in Detroit? It is sunny here in Detroit. Look at my front yard. Sunny and 37. Well, it says partly cloudy, but it's 37 degrees and partly cloudy. Good day from Australia. What would you have a YouTube person do? Edit, make videos? Always curious. Someone branch out. I need someone just to test all the stuff. I don't mind being the one making the videos. It's everything that comes before the video is the hardest part. The testing, the configuring, the making good notes about how the system works and going, hey, these are the problems we encountered. These were the challenges. These were the little hiccups when you set this device up. Those are all the pieces. I don't mind being the one to present it and put the whole script together. That part I'm fine with. And it's not the part I spend the most time on. The recording and editing of the video is a part, but the bigger part sometimes is how many hours did it take to do the testing? And like, for example, people go, hey, why don't you do the new comparison, Tom, between the latest version of TrueNAS 13 and the latest version of Bluefin, which is technically in beta right now? Great. That requires someone to build the machine, do all the tests with Phoronix, then reload the machine with the different version of TrueNAS, do all the same tests of Phoronix, and compile the tests together. The video is about 5 minutes long. The testing is about 4 or 5 hours of repeated tests at different sizes and making sure you had all the parameters right. So that's kind of like, that's what that person would do, is go through all the testing. We're having a requirement of setting up wireless internet solution for our university campus housing. Can you please advise how to get started with Ubiquiti equipment? Would be the best suited for indoor, outdoors devices and such. We're having 160 housing units. Take a look at those in-wall HDs. We've done dorms with those. They work really well. We've done hotels with them. I've got some large UniFi installs. If you look for like some of the large UniFi install videos, I do have some on my channel. So absolutely, the UniFis are a good way to go, setting them up for that. Have you ever had problems with MySQL not migrating between hosts? No, have not. Generally doesn't care. We've moved Windows around between different hosts all the time, and I don't think anything of it. We really haven't had any issues doing that. Proxmox, OpenSense, dual gig, Nick having difficulty to land. Yep, that's why we don't recommend virtualizing it. I mean, I don't use Proxmox enough to tell you what to even suggest. Post in their forums. With XCP&G, there's a write-up about how to set up pfSense in there, but I don't have any knowledge. I don't use Proxmox, so I don't really know. Their forums are probably better on there. I want to mesh two ISPs into one pfSense box, fiber through one telephone cable, and additional network. Didn't get any internet to devices. Any guide? I don't know what you're doing wrong there. That's a little bit harder to figure out. pfSense with dual WAN works great. Got videos on it. There's write-ups in the pfSense documentation how to set up dual WAN. I don't know why yours isn't working, and that is something you'd probably have to jump in my forums or the pfSense forums to lay out all your details to try to figure out, are you getting an IP address on each one of these WAN interfaces? Can those IP addresses get out to the internet once they're assigned? Or is there any routing? Is the gateways, set properly? You take on, your take on Verkada. What is Verkada? I don't have an opinion on Verkada because I don't know what Verkada is. Never used Verkada, so I have no opinion on them. Apparently, Verkada is a company that manage devices across with web-based platform. Oh, they're one of these. There's a few companies that do this. We put it all in the web, and it's just expensive. I don't know, so I don't have an opinion on them. If you had a chance to take a look at the more in-depth at StoreJ, I signed up. Nope, that was something I might do today, is play with StoreJ. StoreJ is pretty cool. I'll actually pull up StoreJ so people can know what I'm saying. So StoreJ. As far as UniFi haven't entered the partner sector to break into larger customers. They actively avoid the partner sector. Personally, I'd rather Ubiquiti stop doing all the chaff and doorbells stuff. Yeah, that'd be interesting. Did you test or deploy MakerTech products? Not often. I've done some MakerTech videos, but only a few. We don't really deploy commercially much MakerTech. Hi, Tom. Want to learn how to terminate and splice fiber, but the splice machine is too expensive and impossible to do without expensive machine. I don't know. We don't splice fiber. I should say. I have people that do. They always have the expensive machines. I mean, that seems to be the best way to do it. So that's probably something to look up on YouTube. I'm not someone who splices fiber, so I'm not the best person to answer that. Recommendation for a cell backup, Cradlepoint. The Cradlepoint ones seem to be popular. We have a few clients using PepLink and Cradlepoint. I think PepLink's the name of them. PepLink, Cradlepoint seem to be the ones that are popular for that. We are so lucky here in Detroit for our local clients that we do not have to deal with this very often. I have 3 fiber providers and 2 cable providers at my office. 3 fiber providers. Detroit actually has a surprisingly amount of coverage. So almost all of our coverage is just failover with one of the other providers. And Starlink has become a popular failover. We've actually had a handful of clients in rural areas that Starlink was a good choice. Why not access cameras? Because they're expensive. They're about 8 times as much as the equivalent Amcrest cameras. Do you know any good dashboards to manage Home Lab? I guess I don't know what you're trying to manage. 188 watching, 39 likes. Yes, please hit that like button. Yeah, 187 people watching. We'll pull this up over here. So thanks for the advice. Just started using Home Assistant. Loving it so far. What are some of the best brands or devices you'd recommend? Wanting some temperature sensors without the other thing. Only have TP-Link plugs for now. I haven't done anything really with the temperature sensors in it. So I don't really have any specific advice when it comes to temperature sensors. But if you look around, there is actually, let me find this company because they're really cool. So if we pull up, Home Assistant devices. There was a place that is, and we can probably share it from here. You can look up certain ones and find them off their site. So the Home Assistant site will actually help you with some of their things by showing you the ones that work best with them. But I've not spent any time on these, and I actually myself will, if I'm looking for something on Home Assistant or I'm curious about it, I just go to YouTube because there's some great YouTube channels. I don't remember the names of them off the top of my head to recommend them right now, but I've looked up things like, how to do this in Home Assistant and watched a video on it myself. My biggest gripe with XOA is the backups. It's hard to track how much space a single backup is taking and mapping the guide correct PM. I don't know. I don't find that as a problem. Mapping it to where it needs to go. I look at the backups not from this standpoint. I know how much they're transferring. I know how much goes into my backups. And you don't know until they're compressed. And you're right. It doesn't tell you how much space, but my backup target, which is my NAS device, does know how much backups take. So go here, storage. So currently my offsite backups my production backups are 2.7 terabytes, and make this a little bigger, easier for people to see. Which ones are lab backups? NFS first. Production backups. Oh, this is one of these is offsite, but yeah, 2.7 terabytes. Like I know how much my backups are taking because it's here. I don't expect Zen to tell me how much the backups are. Zen can, though, if you go to settings, I think it's under remotes. Yeah, it tells you how much in total is used right here. So it does understand what's there. Zen Lab backups. So I don't really see that as a problem. Besides Pepperlink, what other backup cell provider would you use? We just so rarely use them. Hello from Alaska. Awesome. Interface statistics show 53 errors LAN out. How would you show she did error over LAN? I don't know. Do you have any experience with UB phones? I have not tested them at all. Many of the sites in rural Texas, we are working to deploy Starlink, but the delay on getting them is a killer. Yeah, that's probably a problem. Do you have any new videos for dual WAN failover on pfSense? I'm interested in the various failovers and restore various tiers of pfSense. I'm going to do a new one soon because there's some changes since I made the other one, and they do a couple things different. I think I have a video on it, actually. Let me look. If I go to I feel like I did one recently. One of those fun things is I have to think about all the videos I did. I'm pretty sure. WAN. And I did. I'm wrong. I did one on this. How do packet loss and latency monitoring work in pfSense? So I did this one, and the next one I'll probably do is a one on the dual WAN, because I want to talk about how policy routing works, because I didn't cover that in my dual WAN, and people are always confused about the policy routing. It's actually easy, but I want to make sure that gets covered. The new version of UniFi network settings have a router section for third-party gateway sense untangles my router, so I changed the default network to third-party router. I don't know. I don't know what that setting does, so I don't know. I think we'll see improvements in a further 7.3. They posted their community forum yet. Glenn is helpful. I don't know. We'll see. It's only for you to get. You can choose between layer switch and a router. Got it. Makes sense. So Cody has played with it. So the answer to the question is no, it's not useful. Thanks for the videos. Always really useful. Awesome. Cisco C, same, super useful at Lawrence Systems. Awesome. Hello from Switzerland. For the backup sizes in Orchestra, you go to backup tab and then restore, and you can see the size of each VM backup. Yes, this is true. So if we go over here and we go to the restore in our backups, we can see the size. We can even sort by size for the backups. So what's the largest backup Tom has in here? Graylog. No shock there. I have 7 versions of Graylog. Why do I have 7 Graylogs? I should probably consider my retention policy on this, because 1.5 terabytes of backup seems like kind of a lot. So let's go over to overview. How many am I retaining here? Oh yeah, I am retaining 7. Never mind. It's me. It's my fault. I've decided I need 7 copies of Graylog. I don't have a good reason for that. Because I have the storage. So next runner up, Invoice Ninja V4. We do have a lot of 15 deltas, 2 fulls. So 108 gigs of Windows Lab base. Lots of data here. I love the backup system in XCP-NG. It just makes life easy. Hello from space. You need a switch that supports VLANs. So you need they're going to often call them managed switches, but you need a VLAN enabled switch in order to have VLANs. Hello. Is there a trusted list for tech firmware? A little on my practice, been studying more other science for years. I don't know that there's a trusted list, because a lot of times, I don't know. I don't have an answer. Well, maybe I do. Open source. I like open source things. So open source is a more trustworthy firmware. Maybe that's a way to put it. How is Home Assistant these days? WT backup config. I've been using Hubitat for years, but considering switch to Home Assistant. As far as Home Assistant goes for backups, there's a couple different options. You can go to, where's it at? I forgot where the backups are now. You can set it up so it automatic. Oh, system right here. System. And you can pull your own backups and then download them. So you can just say, hey, I would like, this backup, and I would like to download this backup. So you can have it. And I have mine set to do this, or it creates a backup on each time there's a update. But yeah, you can absolutely do the backups pretty easily. I haven't tried it. Someone said there's a plugin to send the backups a place as well. So each time it backs up, it sends it somewhere. Oh, that's a more accurate answer from Dunkel. VLAN is technically a layer 2 thing, but the switch does need to be capable of doing those settings. How do I separate two LAN on a UniFi switch and how to use two LAN? You just create a separate LAN. When you create a separate VLAN, it can be treated as a completely separate network when you do things. Wiki, how do you manage internal documentation, including secrets? We have a very locked down, customized version of a wiki combined with Bitwarden. Bitwarden is where the secret stuff goes. The wiki is where the write-ups and details go. But we don't want our wiki public facing at all. So the wiki is right down to the having two-factor and restricted by IP, internal IP. So even being on my network doesn't give you wiki privilege. You have to be on the approved IP list and then have a username, a password, and a second factor authentication because we just take our documentation. We try to keep it as locked down as possible. But yeah, we still use a wiki for now because I haven't found anything else I like. If you search by hunt for a VLAN capable switch, sometimes they hide it in the specs as 802.1Q. That's correct. A backup for every HA update. That's a lot of backups. Yeah, I purge them. And I don't know. I always do. What it does is it runs a backup in case the HA update goes bad. Honestly, I haven't had an HA update go bad. Home Assistant has updated a lot and the backups just work. So do you have MFA in your home assistant instance? I should. I'll fully admit and call me out. Call me a security fraud for not doing it. I don't have currently Home Assistant attached to 2FA, but I also don't have Home Assistant set up where it's accessible outside of one single network. So it's also on its own restricted network. So yeah, I've restricted it that way, but I honestly have not set up 2FA on Home Assistant. And look, I'm assuming there's a spot to do it because was this a trick question? Oh, it does. Yep, I can enable TOTP on it. Okay, maybe I will. Because it's not accessible externally, so I didn't think about it. I should have 2FA on everything. So hey, you called me out on that, and honestly, I never really looked into it till this moment. So thank you. I watched your video about setting up pfSense with UDM Pro. Did the steps. Speed at UDM WAN equals 200 normal speed. Switch side 200, but only 35 Wi-Fi. Same Wi-Fi settings above. That's a tough one to troubleshoot. Wi-Fi is always finicky, and getting consistent speeds out of Wi-Fi. This is one of the reasons I just don't do a lot of Wi-Fi speed testing. It just drives me nuts, and it's aggravating. So I don't really know. Some setting got changed is my best guess, but I don't know for certain. Loving Snort, any more videos on it? Maybe. I do Errata mostly, but Snort works. I don't know. The video I did several years ago, nothing has changed. I could do a new video, but I wouldn't tell you anything new. So the Snort and Errata videos are, that I don't have anything to add to them is part of the problem. Yeah. AG has so many updates, looking forward to slightly reduced update speed. And the updates haven't bothered me. I click them, they go. About your pfSense, about backup dual WAN and pfSense have an issue where it goes from WAN to 4G backup just fine. It doesn't always switch back to main WAN. Yes, this is normal. That is expected behavior because states created stay where they're created, even when the other becomes available. And I need to make that clear in the video because this seems to confuse people about how states work. They're sticky. They don't want to disrupt because when you have two connections and one of them gets disrupted, they go to the other connection. Now, that disruption is noticeable. I'm on a call. I'm not on the call. If I were to lose my main internet connection while doing a live stream, my live stream would go over to the failover internet connection, but you would notice. You would go, hey, Tom glitched out. Tom stopped working for a moment, and then the live stream started. Once the live stream starts again, you don't want it to glitch out and switch back over to the other way. So eventually everything will wander over to the new connection, but in the short term, things will stay on whatever connection the state was created on. It doesn't force them over. Now, this is where, and the one use case that is really good for SD-WAN is when you combine the two. So the states always go over a SD-WAN, and the SD-WAN is managing the connections for you. That way it's more seamless and can be switched over. But SD-WAN is another set of problems because SD-WAN itself requires a service to be running to manage the SD-WAN and a endpoint, which is going to be someone's cloud that you're paying money for. And then your internet connection isn't your endpoint. Your endpoint's always the SD-WAN, and that has an expense and overhead with it. So it's not like the, oh, this magic will solve it type solution. I have a video I did on SD-WAN to explain that too. I have LAN from pfSense, how to connect those networks to a UniFi 16-port switch. Just you go, I have a video on pfSense and UniFi VLANs. I recommend watching that video because I go in depth on explaining that one. Where do you add the TOTP stickers so that Acme and pfSense can update mail in a box DNS? I assume you need SSH to update it. Can't find it in a GUI. I don't know. I've never used generally because I when you're using Acme certs, you'll have to figure out a way to pull them out of your pfSense. If you're using the pfSense to update Acme, and you want a copy of that certificate somewhere else, you're going to have to build maybe an SSH with keys to go in and grab them out of your pfSense, or write your own automation script to get that somewhere. So I'm not exactly sure about that. Thoughts on Bitwarden passwordless feature? Haven't tested it yet. Any idea on how to diagnose or track down the root cause? Do speed tests on each segment of the network. Set up something running iPerf that you know can operate at the maximum speed, or at least above the speed at which the Wi-Fi does, and iPerf each device, moving it between network to network. Do you use Design Center, UniFi, or alternative heat map software? We don't always use the heat mapping software. The UniFi design works fine if you want to use that. People overthink the hell out of that. We do large projects all the time with spreadsheets, and people are telling me I can't do it. And I'm always I always shrug my shoulders. I'm like, I don't know. At what point does the spreadsheet fail? We did a project that was like $250,000 of, install, pretty big install, a lot of drops, a lot of things going out there. All done with a spreadsheet and just some basic planning with an overview for putting these in. I don't know. I followed your FIDO2 tutorial and I really want to use it in the HAS, but no luck. It was a tricky question. Use it on HAS. I'm not sure what HAS is. I always think of that as hardware as a service, but that's the wrong grouping of letters. Wi-Fi sucks. Here's a good speed test. 1 meter. Yep, bam, half the speed. Absolutely a problem. Move 1 meter more. Good again. I have a better one. We actually put a laptop on. If you don't know what a lazy Susan is, it's like for serving food, where it's a little thing that can just spin. We put a laptop on a lazy Susan, and just by spinning the laptop to different angles, we were getting different Wi-Fi speeds, like pretty big differences, 25% speed differences from angles. And the Wi-Fi was like a few meters away. It's just aggravating. We also found out if someone stood in between the Wi-Fi, this is the weird part. If someone stood in between the Wi-Fi and the laptop, it went faster. But if someone walked away, it went slower. Thank you, Wi-Fi, for making life testing hard, and why I just decided not to do those. Just about to update 2.6 pfSense plus 21. Don't think there are much differences outside of support. I have a video where I think I highlight some of the differences between them. Your videos and YouTube community have been super helpful for me for a long time. Thanks a ton. Just last morning, I was able to add pfSense in front of a UDM Pro so I could run Tailscale and a pinch for time. Awesome. I am so glad you're helpful, and thank you very much for the donation. It is greatly appreciated. How would you approach C-level guys pitch replacing crappy Meraki MX firewalls with pfSense? They hear the word free open source and bells start ringing. You say, did you know the U.S. Navy uses pfSense? And you never have to say, the reality is people in the C-suite don't even care about open source. You're adding too many words if you've brought that up. We're going to, this is how I sell things, because I'm selling to businesses, and the businesses, if they're not technical, I don't add technical words in there like open source. We have a best-in-class solution firewall that we're going to install to secure your network. It's going to come with support contract and an agreement through us to guarantee that the uptime will be kept, that the patches will be kept, and your security will be done in the best way possible. There we go. I never had to use it open source, and I'm talking about pfSense. Quit. Hey, I got this free solution. That's what makes you look like someone who's just trying to pitch them on things. You don't need to use the words open source and sell it. And, a lot of times they don't Google it. If they do, whatever. I do point out that literally the U.S. Navy, there's a blog post about the U.S. Navy using pfSense. Would you set up a virtual IP for a WAN to solve the dual WAN failover restore issue? So no. Oh, HAS is Home Assistant. But that's too many S's. It's HAS, Home Assistant. I guess you could, I don't know. I see how it was truncated now. Experience of installs, a free piece of software saying you need X amount of APs. Do you have any fancy suggestions on how to performing periodical internet speed tests using iPerf and logging results to keep an eye on the provider? Let's say not really. And a lot of times the provider, I doubt any consumer grade providers, ISPs, you'd have to figure out what their minimum is. Even if they sold you we're going to give you a 400 gig internet connection, I don't know that it would be 400 gigs all the time. And I doubt they have an agreement that would guarantee it to you. So it's kind of like you're just wasting bandwidth. And eventually by doing this, you're going to, because more and more places have bandwidth caps, you're going to start running into overages and bandwidth caps just to do a speed test, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me. You also have a point of diminishing returns depending on what you're doing. Latency matters more than speed for most people's use cases. Outside of I want to download something really, really, really fast, which sometimes is limited not by your internet connection, but by the upstream provider who does throttling going, well, I don't care how fast your pipe is. Our pipe is this fast. Therefore, we are going to slice it up into smaller pieces, and we're going to do QoS on every download that comes from our servers so they can only download at X speed. So I don't know. I don't think as much about the speed. I don't have even a top tier for my house because why? I don't need it. I wish I had faster upload. I bought my tier based on how fast of the upload. I actually can go downloads a little bit faster if I wanted to, but I don't see the point. So I bought the fastest upload speed possible because I need to get my YouTube videos uploaded. Changing SSH default port and dealing with apps like rsync, copy ID, port different. I missed the context for that one. Wi-Fi is voodoo. Yes, it is. It is very voodoo. Smaller APs, more of them seems to be the common logic. That is definitely my logic. By the way, I'll take the hate in the comments on that one. People tell me I'm wrong. That's fine. Tell me I'm wrong. I'm going to keep selling them. And we actually lost a bid and we're getting it back. So we did a series of jobs, but we've been told we had too many access points. And even the people who bid the other jobs said we were trying to oversell them on access points. So they got the job because it came out cheaper to put up less access points. That particular site doesn't work right because it doesn't have enough access points. So now we are coming in to fill in the gaps left by the other company who said we were wrong. And hey, whatever. I got nothing. People tune power and channels like auto, like your recent video you pointed out on auto. Yes. pfSense on ongoing costs, no licensing. Sell it with no license. Yep. A lot of big corps don't disclose what they're using. This is very true. Any chance you're doing pfSense on radius assigned VLANs for Wi-Fi? Maybe. We've done this, and I might do a video on it. It's a maybe. It's just the limited use case. People ask more about it. It's not something that everybody sets up, and it has its own set of issues when you do it. So, anyways. Because of my current living conditions, I don't need direct access to my ISP modem, and I am running my stuff on Wi-Fi separate repeater DWRT, so I can get direct connection. I don't require it. Okay. You can have cheap SD solution with 0 tier and pfSense works good. Not sure if Tailscale can do aggregation. I don't think Tailscale can do aggregation. Wi-Fi sucks. Wish I had more Wi-Fi at work. Yes. I can't believe how many corps want to do all Wi-Fi for their users and then complain when it falls in his face. Yes. Understood. Thanks. Awesome. Wi-Fi design change from coverage based to capacity. Always designed for capacity. This is Aruba, Cisco. Yeah. Capacity. It's capacity and coverage are the two factors, not speed. Most of the jobs we do commercially are all about, can I have X number of devices in this area, and does that area have coverage? We do a lot of commercial warehouses, and those commercial warehouses care about coverage. Speed is not even on their list. Matter of fact, we set them to the narrower bands because they have better penetration. Wider bands are faster, but speed is not the issue at all. Matter of fact, they just need connectivity for a laptop that might be scanning something or working out in a warehouse. Lots of the scanner tools that they have, they send kilobits of data. Getting those kilobits of data faster to their destination makes no difference to anyone. Heat map scans are like deploying the cost. Yeah. And the reality is the heat maps are only so good if you really want to do it right. You actually get, and I think Chris from Crosstalk had one of these things. You get like a stick that you can put a Wi-Fi device on, and you hold it up where it's going to be, and then you test that area, like actually test the area. And that makes a big difference in doing it, not just assuming what's in what may cause interference, but actually going there and doing it. And that's a lot of people aren't willing to pay for that. Just throw more Wi-Fi devices out there. Sell off some U6 Pros, replace them with 2 U6 Lights or maybe Nano HDs. Cool. I prefer plug in and install on PFSense Wi-Fi laptop. They hook up to each other. Just looking for a high level understanding before I dive in. Yeah, you can do that. That should work. You can use iPerf on PFSense. You can use iPerf on a Raspberry Pi. It works all over the place. You can have too many APs, but you can never have too many APs. Lots of people don't understand the shared medium has setting time slots per channel, so more APs is better. Yes, that. Look up how that works. It's amazing when you dive into the details of how that works. So fiber straight onto the box and the PFSense. I mean, it depends on how they're providing the fiber to you. If it works in an SFP and they're giving you an IP address, it should work, but I don't know. I don't know how your ISP is providing it. P's on standard desk facing upwards. That's a weird way to do it, but it'll work. Put your Wi-Fi stick on the Lazy Susan. There you go. I've changed the default port to SSH. Seems like everything from SCP to rsync, all IDs seem to use different ways to tell them the port is different. Is there a better way? If you change the port, you have to set it to whatever parameters of however you're doing it. I mean, when you're using a non-default port, you just have to put those parameters. And you're right, the command line switches may be different for each one of those tools, but if you change the port, you're going to have to change your tools to match whatever port you're using. Thoughts on Chat GPT and how we can use the networking, use it to create scripts, and it's amazing. I don't know. I'm still reserved on it. I've been watching a few things on it, but I will wait and see. No real concrete thoughts on it. It seems to be a lot of excitement about it right now. We'll see how it works out. Hence 40 channels over 80 for stability. It worked in SolarWinds. With SolarWinds, eye-watering expensive. Never saw their heat map. King of how much is Splunk? We do a lot of automotive workshops. Have seen companies query why you put so many APs in, but the coverage and reliability is key, especially with large moving vehicles. Yep. The old debate, speed versus bandwidth. I'm thinking about just running OS2 out of the house, but not sure why so many cables run. Yeah. Is there any tips and tricks for Wi-Fi roaming handshake to make it seamless? I know Ubiquiti had issues with software versions ago. I've not had any problems with it in the last few years with Ubiquiti. I think there were some early ones. I know it really hated roaming on. It had some iPhone problems and oddly Samsung problems, but I haven't really had any issues of roaming right now with theirs. ChatGPT literally walked me through my PFSense failover. Huh. Maybe I'll try it for that and see how good it is at answering networking questions. Wait, can my live streams be replaced with ChatGPT? That's what we need to know. Hey, you looking to bypass my ISP with a PFSense SFP custom build? Need their box IPTVs or any easy way expensive? Not that I know of. I don't know any way to bypass that. There might be a way. I just don't know it. I'm not saying there's not a way. I'm just saying Tom doesn't know which way. Do you prefer PFSense firewall behind UniFi VLANs or you use UniFi networking firewall standalone? I don't use UniFi routing devices. Saw your video about UniFi a PFSense. How do you configure 2 LAN on UniFi switch? I have a video where I explain PFSense and UniFi VLANs. You've asked that question before, and I'm going to keep giving that same answer for that one. And answers follow-up questions. I mean, it's no Lawrence Q&A, but hey. Yeah, how long till I get replaced and all the YouTubers get replaced? You know, I got to hurry up and try and make some money and save it up because pretty soon I'm going to be obsoleted by some AI chatbot. This is a good point right here. ChatGPT is showing answers from the internet. ChatGPT doesn't know what it's showing. Always double check the solution. I got several wrong and dangerous answers. Now, this is actually a fun fact. And Steve Gibson covered this in Security Now. And a lot of security researchers, this is fun. There was an answer on a Stack Exchange that was wrong. There was a coding answer that was answered wrong repeatedly, but it always got upvoted as the same answer. Therefore, lots of people kept using the same code. Later, it was discovered it was wrong. It wasn't known to be wrong or insecure way to implement something, but so many people used that Stack Overflow or whatever that site is that people look up code snippets. Anyways, if enough people vote to the top or assume an answer is right, even if it's wrong, it is the result that many people will find as the top or most SEO, result. So it's going to reach the top of the search engines because so many people said it was right. And this is where the flaw of any of these chat engines could come in, or as it happened, a security vulnerability that shouldn't have happened, but so many people copied and pasted this bad answer into their own code as a solution to their problem for setting something up, that this security flaw was actually found in way more places than it should have been, all because of someone had posted a top answer. So yes, this is actually a problem that ChatGTP, sorry, weird combination for some reason in my head. This is a problem that they could end up having where the wrong answer is the most popular answer. So it could end up propagating bad information on something like that. So that would be interesting. Does that mean we get a Lawrence bot? Yes. I know this is not always correct. And you have to double check, do everything in lab environment first. Yes. Sauce for taquitos. Ooh. Yuka. Pull it up. This is definitely the right answer to this. I don't know if they can give good. Can a bot give good hot sauce recommendations? I mean, come on. And this stuff's just wonderful. It's cheap. It's not the most expensive stuff. It's just great. I asked to create a firewall software using Swift, and it did. It does work, but also coded the thing right in front of me. Matter of time. Yeah. GPT, you know me. I'm thinking OPP. Yeah. And hey, ChatGPT is OPP. We're other people's property. It's just using all of our knowledge to build upon it. They do state ChatGPT page that they get things wrong is not a definitive answer for anything. How long until Twitter is gone? That's a complicated topic. We don't know. We don't know if it will go away. We just know that it's a big dumpster fire that seems to be bleeding money at an incredible rate. But that's not the real story. The real story is the Twitter is just a bunch of noise. The real story is it's causing damage to the other brands that Elon built. And that is actually a more expensive loss. So I don't know when the runway's out. He's got plenty of money to fuel the fire. So I don't know. I'm not even interested in taking bets. I still tweet. Why do I tweet? Because I have an audience there. I also post on Mastodon because there's a building audience there. Quite a few people actually are using Mastodon now. So I post on both these places. If those places become, or any of these places become a place not to post or untenable, I stop posting there. So yeah, it's as simple as that. I separate news from noise. I've talked about this before. Man, I have a LinkedIn post. And if anyone wants to follow me on LinkedIn, by the way, in my posts, I always make them public because I have no problem with, the things I post, the necessary rants I'm posting. I don't really rant on anything. Where does it show my activity? There we go. Just make sure I'm not showing any messages. But if you're looking for another social platform to follow me on, you can follow me where I mostly post about tech things and occasionally some humorous things on there. But yes, lots of discussion. This got me quoted. So this particular one, and you can see my analytics here on LinkedIn, which is kind of funny. 15,000 impressions on it. I'm actually shocked at some of the things. 12 people reposted it, and I ended up getting a comment. A few of the people that follow me, one of them is a writer and wrote an article and had me quoted in there for my ranting on the Rackspace outage and things like that. So yeah. But I have a post in here buried somewhere. Here's a humorous one. If you're looking for a reason to follow me on LinkedIn, I like to post my nerd humor. I post this on Twitter as well. So we'll leave that pulled up. But I have a whole thing where I talk about understanding news from noise and how I look at things. I always share a lot of how I think, not necessarily because I want you to think the same as me, but I like to offer, show your work, some of the ways and methodologies I come up with the conclusions I do. So OPP, other people's property. Come on, it's a classic song. Thanks for making this drive entertaining. Time to go install some APs. Awesome. Have fun installing those. Hi, Tom. Which PF recommendation in office with 3040 PCs? Mix a LAN and WAN. I mean, the 6100 is one of my go-to boxes. We put it in a lot of businesses. 4100 is good. 6100 is better. So it's got the 10 gig connections. Keep redundant social media like ZFS, redundant backups. Yeah, whatever. Redundant social media, if you want to call it that. Always retain your ownership of things. So all the different things I post, especially if I take the time to write something, I often keep my own copies of all this. Corey Doctorow has really good write-ups on how he does things, how he uses sites and platforms like Medium, but also retains all of his own copies of everything in case there's a problem with any of those sites at a future date where they no longer host your content. So always be in possession of your content if you want to keep it. Don't rely on those other companies to always maintain your content. Save all your memes somewhere. How do you go about sizing a firewall? Do you trust the data sheets, amount of users? No, it's different ton of variables. Just want to hear how you approach it. Yes, I use the Netgate data sheets because they're accurate. Netgate knows their product very well. So the Netgate data sheets on sizing are accurate. I know the song. I just figured it was some gang. Oh, yeah. Will I host a Mastodon server? Not likely. I don't see that happening anytime soon. But you can find me on Mastodon. Right here. So I'm on Mastodon, but I don't have a reason to host my own server. I don't post enough that I care or feel like maintaining it. I have enough things to maintain, like with my forums. So I weighed it out going, do I want to build my own? Nah, I don't feel like dealing with a headache for now. Maybe one day in the future, I'll have so much content I'm posting to Mastodon. I'd like to make sure I'm the one backing it all up. That is not today. If you look at my Mastodon posts, they're same as my Twitter posts going live today. I literally post to both simultaneously. So, hey, look, these look a whole lot like the same posts. So Um, yeah, there's nothing interesting here. NASA takes photo of ghost in space. Yeah, I think all my posts here are the same in Mastodon as they are on Twitter. I don't think there's any difference. So there's nothing. And by the way, nothing's something I have to really think about backing up and saving, because who cares that this went live today, a year from now? It'll be on YouTube until it's not. I don't really back up my live streams on that. Stepping aside from strictly UniFi, what are some personal tips on going into mixed environments? That people will inevitably set up mixed environments wrong because they're not familiar with all the different products. So you'll find a bunch of security problems. That's my take. I mean, we have people in mixed environments all the time. It's part of the consulting we do. And we just find things misconfigured all the time because they knew how to configure one device, but not the others. It's not always the case, but it's frequently the case. And that's often how we get called in for consulting because those things aren't configured properly. It's a good learning experience to play with multiple things. What do you recommend speed for workstation for non-tech office? Internet speed? What are they doing? Are they cloud heavy? That's the real question. Are they doing something that needs a lot of speed? We have a carpet store. Turns out they need a little more speed than you think, but not much because they get designs sent to them to do carpet layouts. But a 40 meg circuit would actually be perfectly fine for them. But then you have an office filled with engineers using a bunch of cloud stuff, and they're uploading things all the time, or many connections that may need more. So you really just got to think about, what are they doing, and are they cloud heavy, or are they all watching YouTube and Netflix? Because yes, that happens in businesses more than you think. Or more than it should. I don't know about more than you think, but more than it should. Standing under the AP right now is 35 down. Yeah, that happens. Untagged native VLAN terminology catches people out. It's the same, but Aruba Cisco naming. Yes, untagged native VLAN 1. All three different ways to say the same thing. When is there going to be a groundbreaking technology? I don't expect one anytime soon because there's not a demand for it. Technology is driven by a need, a goal, something going, hey, we need to achieve this. And then it has to do so without too much pain of change. So IPv6 has been around for 20 years. IPv6 isn't in use because there's not enough pain to make people switch. So even though we're very well aware of IPv6, we haven't moved to it in mass because there's not enough pain created by the current implementation. So that's more the reasoning behind that. How do you start documenting a client when you take over IT services from another company? You should have a template. You can easily Google a template, like all the things you should know, network layouts and things like that for a business. You start with a blank template and you don't stop until it's filled in. It's really, you should have a list of the things you do for onboarding and run down that list, and that's how you're going to achieve it. So having that template helps you not forget things, because if there's a blank spot on the template, then that's the spot you need to keep filling out. Can you read a home network with Wi-Fi speeds? My Wi-Fi speeds are irrelevant because I never test them. I've never tested the Wi-Fi speeds, but maybe I'll do how I set up Wi-Fi at my home with my one single. Well, I have two access points. I technically do have two. One in my wife's office, an in-wall HD, and one more in my basement that covers my upstairs. What are your thoughts on Raspberry Pi corporations blocked on Mastodon? I didn't know they were blocked. Got blocked. I don't know what you're talking about. So I see hosting in MX. I don't see that they're blocked. Oh, my guess is it looks like some confusion. It looks like Jeff Jarvis did a post on it. I don't know. There's a lot to there's going to be a whole lot coming forward in the future because once you've distributed moderation through the Fediverse, there's going to be all kinds of new fun things that we're going to be learning about that. So yeah, it's going to be tricky. Many people in office use YouTube and Spotify music where they work, and it does suck up a bit of bandwidth. Yes. As long as you have provider ONT. Okay, people talking about that. What's the optimal bandwidth for a 300 room hotel? Should you have a backup IP load balancer? I don't know about a load balancer, but a backup ISP, yes. What kind of bandwidth? I mean, is as much as possible, because people are always streaming things because they're bored in their hotel room. I won't speculate as to what they're watching in their hotel room, but I bet it's streaming, something streaming. So I don't have a template handy, I don't think. Maybe I do in my forums somewhere, but you can Google. There's a ton of sample templates out there for that. But go with gig internet, and you should be fine. Go with a backup internet, because if you want to see angry people at a hotel, take away their internet. I set up PF SenseBox for my home network and love it. It handles my 5 gig fiber internet connection perfectly. All my 10 gig connected computers around it, and great. Good to hear. I love the idea that the ISP can give out like 17 million times the number of publicly routed IP users. Yeah. It's crazy how it seems to solve problems, but reality is IPv6 still isn't really there. Didn't move an inch. It's 95. Welcome to Wi-Fi, and why I don't bother with Wi-Fi speed tests. What's your idea about PFSense versus x86 box running NICs? Whichever one works for you. They're both good solutions. I like the Netgate boxes for business, so we have a repeatable, warranted box that we can that people can use. But for home users, hey, whatever fits your budget. You should try a local speed test because public servers be used by many people. Yeah, hopefully you are using a locally installed speed test. Well, I'm going to wind this down here because I've been going for almost 2 hours. So let's see if we can get a few more likes. That'd be great, because I have 161 concurrent viewers and 91 likes. So if anyone wants to throw a few more likes at me, that would be great. Oh, you can throw money at me as well. I see, a few people threw money, and thank you for those who did. But oh, cool. I can choose between options in here. Anyways, but feel free to throw money at me too. It was nice running to you at OLF. I learned I learned of your podcast and only after the party Saturday night. It'd be nice to interact with people without knowing anything about them. That was definitely Ohio Linux Fest was a lot of fun. I did like meeting all those people. That was definitely great. Much appreciated. Thank you very much. What's your experience with PPOE? I don't have any. We just don't use it as much here in the United States. So I have very, very limited PPOE experience. So I'm not the best person to answer questions on that topic. Well, I appreciate it, but yes, you cannot do multiple likes. One like at a time. That's all they allow. Unless you have a lot of different YouTube accounts. Does it look nickels add up, man? The pennies add up, the nickels add up. I'm not, I don't discriminate against the size of the currency. If you don't have any money, don't throw money at me. So there's that. There, I like that comment there. I feel that way occasionally working with tech. Ah! Oh, yeah. See, you've probably heard the term make it rain when you're throwing money at people, but there's also make it hail when you throw coins at them too. So there's, there is that. But seeing as these are all virtual, when you're sending it in a digital form, I'm less worried about getting hit by the nickels. You're liking the stream. It's really growing. Liking. Got it. Nice. Clever. I love playing words. Love your videos. First time I caught and enjoyed. Thank you for everything. Keep being awesome. All right. Thank you. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. I don't even know if we talked about everything we were going to talk about here. I don't know if that really matters. As long as we had fun. Yes, we did. We talked about security cameras, networking, and home labs. So I guess I did cover everything. But thank you for the donation. It is greatly appreciated. What do you want to know? Been running PPOE and OpenWT. Yeah, there's a lot of people in the forums that seem to have problems with PPOE. I just don't have experience with it because we don't run into those setups. That seems to be something that's really popular in Europe. It used to be popular here in the US, and we moved away from it. It used to be all the DSL stuff was PPOE, and it just kind of went away because DSL went away. And so I don't run into it as often. Is it possible it's something on how the UniFi controller is handling the AP itself? Seems unlikely. I don't know. I can't think of anything that would cause that. So that's definitely an interesting question. But all right, I'm gonna stop it here. And thanks everyone for joining. It was awesome. Thank you all of you for smashing the like button. It is greatly appreciated. And thank all of you for donating some revenue because that is greatly appreciated. I'm gonna actually go outside for a minute. So that's definitely a thing. I need to occasionally go for walks and exercise a little bit. So I spend too much time sitting behind a keyboard. So I'm going to go do something about that. So thanks all of you. Look forward to hearing from you next week. And maybe I'll do this again on a Sunday. This is definitely fun. I love all the Q&A. I got to work on a way to get, not everyone really wants to post to my forums. Maybe I'll set up an email address and dedicate it towards these Q&A episodes. That way people can email me a bunch of questions ahead of time and I answer them. That might be a fun way to do this. So that'd be great. Thank you. And all right, I've answered all the questions. Take care.